So to start off with Loot Crate, can you, in a minute or less, tell us from 2012 how you went from 0 to 10,000 subscribers? No, okay. Okay. Can you just quickly review, since Loot Crate, you now have, I think you said 16 different brands? How many different brands at this point? 27. And can you name a few of those?
Well, we separate between our pop culture kind of film and television side with a sports division as well. And so the sports side, we run the official subscription box for Major League Baseball. We should have an announcement for NBA soon.
Nice.
And then on the entertainment side, it's a mix between genre boxes like anime, gaming, things like that, and the partner boxes we have. So we run the official subscription box for J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter, Marvel, Firefly, Star Trek. Thank you. Firefly, Star Trek, and a few others.
Okay. So I think what a lot of people in the room would love to know is how you even look at analytics. I mean, it's a beast. I know when we were talking earlier this week, you consider yourself more of a technology company than a product company.
Well, more of just as much of a technology company. We have more than 24 engineers who are spread out amongst everything from retention squads, churn mitigation, but then there's a lot that's being done on machine learning and kind of the data sciences side that's looking at how our subscribers and our potential subscribers interact in the world of fandom. So what are they watching, what are they listening to, what are they talking about, both on our own social channels and then non-owned channels. And then a lot of us have experience in the industry prior to Loot Crate in that kind of thing, of creating community and brand awareness and things like that, and then listening to that community and injecting that knowledge back into the company.
Yeah, a lot with our merchants. So I'm from Recharge. We have a subscription billing platform for Shopify. We have about 10,000 merchants we work with, and one of the biggest questions they ask is churn. How do we reduce churn? You talked about your churn, machine learning, et cetera.
Sure.
What do you guys look at, and how do you look at that?
Well, so from a strategy standpoint, it's all about creating a service and an experience for our subscribers that goes beyond just the transactional experience they have of ordering the whatever crate they want and then receiving it. We talk about the customer journey and all those different touch points. And as the speaker before me said, you can't always be at every single one of those points or at least own them. We are actively working toward owning a lot of those points so that Loot Crate can continue to be embraced by our community as a place that is just as valuable to go for conversation and community and content as any other locations that they currently go to, which keeps the brand top of mind, keeps it relative and additive to the world of pop culture, which is why we do red carpet events and a lot of trade shows. So for us, it's about creating an experience that can go beyond themes and beyond IP so that we can kind of level out some of those spikes that happen when someone's like, ooh, there's an Overwatch or a Star Wars item, I'm gonna subscribe, and then, oh, here's something from Goonies, RoboCop, and Black Panther, not as interested. So we that's the strategy, and then we use a ton of data touch points to do it, including, if I can just continue for a second, we have an inside the company, we have a research and insights division that are human design skilled people who come from the world of politics and marketing agencies, and what they do is they do everything from in-home surveys and focus groups to they've created something called the Advisory Bureau, the Looter Advisory Bureau, or the Lab, and then every month we run missions that 7,500 of our subscribers participate in that give us both qualitative and quantitative data back based off of how they interact with the brand that we use to create an optimization of the experiences that we do. So right now we have it fluctuates obviously, but we have over 500 million subscribers that we ship to every month in 34 countries, and the 7,500 that we have as a panel has so far been statistically relevant to be able to provide value moving forward on that kind of stuff.
I have so many questions. First one, how soon after you launched did you decide to create this engineering team that would dive in? How soon did you launch the research and development team?
So I was working as a consultant doing a lot of stuff for different brands in the LA area, but one of the things I was the director of research and analytics for a company called Eisenberg, which is an agency in Pasadena. And I was working with a company called Simply Measured, which is scalable for anybody in this room, I believe. They may have raised their prices over the past like 10 years. But from day one, we were really adamant about capturing every single point of conversation that we have with the subscribers, right? So when we sat down that startup day weekend, we didn't have a business plan or investment money or anything, but we also had some knowledge and experience of how to do this. So to this day, even almost 5 million, across Facebook and some of our social channels later, we can go back and get the very first tweet that we sent out, every mention of the brand, Loot Crate, or permeations of it, and all of that is data, plus the 14 million boxes or plus that we've shipped, the surveys that come back from that, and people's unboxings and everything. So from the very beginning.
Wow, okay. And then you're still using Simply Measured?
Still using Simply Measured,
okay.
And then a mix of other in-house. That's what's been kind of fun is hopefully at different scales, but we'll be able to announce some things that we've been developing in-house, because as we went from like Chargeify to Recurly to Shippo and ShipStation and Shipify, I mean we've done all that hard work, which is why I'm proud to be an advisor to the SUBTA association, because there's a lot of things that I think we tried that didn't work that can help other businesses kind of get a head start on some of those things. So a lot of the stuff that we're doing is built in-house. There's a lot of we have our own single sign-in system, we have our own data modeling set, we have some machine learning and AI stuff that's constantly running that some people have brought over from companies that they've worked with in the past and everything.
So Loot Crate's doing a couple of really fun initiatives, and one of the things you talked about earlier this week was how you're marrying the online and offline experience. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, as far as we're aware, we're the only company that, with the bespoke nature of our subscription boxes, they become part of the experience as well. So we actually create licensed exclusive items out of the corrugate that we ship, which causes a lot of, and then run contests and things like that generate content that as people share it online. But we also are doing everything from partnerships with iPick and other theaters to sponsoring esports events. There's a lot of the influencers we work with, so we work with a lot of YouTube and Twitch talent. We're very active in their local efforts, whether they have charities that they sponsor or activities that they do. But we really are trying to make sure that we find a way to take the community that we have online and be able to foster it in the real world as well, which is helpful when you have full-size license exclusive items, because when you see somebody wearing a Doctor Strange t-shirt or something, or Star Wars socks, and you know that they're exclusive to the business or to the service, it can help with those kind of conversations.
And you also mentioned some of your retail partnerships too.
Yeah, we struggled for a while with the idea of what does Loot Crate look like in a retail store. How do you continue to have that element of mystery and surprise? Did we have enough brand equity that anybody in a store might be like, oh, I kind of know what Loot Crate is? So what we did is we developed a relationship with FYE that allowed us to do a test in San Diego during San Diego Comic-Con with a pop-up. And what we were selling was some individual items, but the crates that we were selling, we would reveal one item and then reveal that there's something from the franchises of other items. And then we did that across anime, gaming, and core. So you'd see, okay, I'm gonna get this Han Solo figure, but then I'm also gonna get an item from Destiny, Borderlands, and The Expanse. And what's fun is we're able to experiment with a partner like FYE, although we are talking and working with other larger retailers, is FYE had the flexibility to allow us to, we have a store in Montebello that we experiment with where we'll do surveys and everything, but to kind of tweak the messaging and the copy and the positioning. And that's kind of what the benefit of having everything in-house has been, is we do all our fulfillment, distribution, photography, social media, film production, all that kind of stuff is in-house.
All in-house.
Including the production.
Agencies.
No. The only thing we use agencies for is like on the PR side, or when we have kind of a special project.
Okay.
But even the corrugate or the package design of the items that we put in the box itself, and most of the products now that we're making are self-manufactured. So we have over 300 licenses, Star Wars, Marvel, and we're creating things from concept illustration to fully licensed. And having that ability with retail is really powerful, because obviously we get the scale of manufacturing 300,000 things in a single month, make 2,500 extra or 5,000 extra, give them a variant, make them a retail exclusive. There's a lot more margin to be had there, and an experience for people who may not want to subscribe but still want to get the type of items that we manufacture.
I'm going to go back to one point you mentioned about influencers. So there's been a lot of talk over the last year about how effective affiliates and influencers have been. Have they always been consistently performing for you?
No, it's been something that's been difficult to work with. I think everybody is kind of feeling some of that stress. It could be your brand is not large enough that you can get the attention of a certain scale. You have to pay a lot to get into it. It's also just kind of how people are expecting to be paid and what they're doing. So being here in LA and doing stuff in the startup space before Loot Crate, especially on the production side, gave me and some of the team an insight on how to approach the influencers. And so when we started out 5 years ago, part of that 0 to 100 million in revenue in 3 years was based off of working with content creators to help tell the message to our community. And we don't do as much now. We're going to be getting back into it in 2018. But the way it's changed is, as MCNs have come and gone that represent this talent and everything, we've had to stay agnostic. The good news is because we aren't beholden to any particular IP, like we're not owned by Disney or Warner Brothers or Nintendo or Activision, is that we stay agnostic there as well with all the brands, which leaves open opportunities for influencers. I think we're focusing on thinking about them more as creators now, and that's what we actually have in-house is the Loot Create program. And Loot Create is really about working with creative content companies and individuals and working with them to create something that's like additive to that particular line of business. So one thing, speaking about the Control Collective, is there's a company here called VR Scout that Jonathan runs, and they have this great mixed reality space where you can do mixed reality VR. Here? Okay. Yeah, it's they have a garage over there. And so what we're talking about is working with a company called Monster Cat, which is a record label a gaming record label that was just recently in Rolling Stone, and artists, and working to take tilt brush artists and have them create art inspired by our themes or the video game IP and everything. And so we're not only working with music, but also illustration, creative design, and then VR and everything, and packaging all of that up, and then releasing it out for our subscribers to be able to see it. We're working with influencers in that same kind of space. Is instead of just having them do unboxings, is how do we involve them to be part of the creative process
and the community. And
that's definitely a change between, we just want to send you the box, please unbox it, and hoping that a percentage of people will actually click a link. Now we're working on longer term kind of creative projects.
Okay. I'm going to pause real quick. I'm sure there's a few people in the audience who have questions before we continue. Is there anyone? Yeah.
What's your advice for getting started on licensing?
We started out by purchasing items that were just off the shelf, and then moved to finding people who had the license that had items that we wanted to work with, and then can do a variant for us. And so we started our relationship with people who already had an existing license, and just continued to nurture that by going so far as to work with them to also put ideas that maybe they had that someone decided would not work at retail, and allow them to experiment through the box. And then that led to them, being comfortable with working with us, and then word kind of went up the chain to the actual IP holders. And what we did is we just showed like how respectful we were of their IP. We don't post anything. Even if you scroll through right now Facebook and you see like a Ghostbusters, like it's in the next Loot Crate, look right down the bottom left-hand corner, it says copyright Sony Entertainment. Like even the advertising we do, even if we're writing checks for millions of dollars to put products in there, has all been about being respectful of the license. So I think I would start, my recommendation would just be start off with smaller partners that you would like to work with that have a great relationship with an IP, and figure out ways to make it beneficial for them that everybody kind of wins. I will tell you now, self-manufacturing a lot of the stuff that we haven't like upset partners, and we are making sure that we aren't rolling out with products that already exist out there. But we have the license to self-manufacture a lot of stuff and still work with partners who have that license and maintain it.
Curious to know where you think the industry's going over the next 18 months from a macro level, right? You guys being a leader and a big dog in the industry, the subscription economy is only growing. VC dollars have all but dried up for more of the bigger organizations, bigger plays. Just interested to know where you think it's going.
I mean, our brand vision for 2018 is really about leaning more into content. I know it's easy to say content marketing, put content out there, people will share it, they'll become aware of your company, and then they'll come to you. But like, we're really trying to make sure that we are positioning ourselves at an intersection of being a company that can provide a technology experience that people can't get anywhere else. So we're obviously leaning in very closely on mobile, and more than just e-commerce on mobile. We've got a simple app right now, you can download it and buy, but we're building a lot of stuff in the back end, like a content management system, our own single sign-in system and everything. So I would say do what you can to invest in some of the technology aspects of what you're doing as a subscription company. And I would say also to not be afraid to look at other channels as a way of generating revenue. I know there's some hesitation from people about doing e-com and does it devalue the subscription service and everything. I would say wait until you have something where it's like the value is incredible, right? For $20 you get a t-shirt and 3 other license exclusive items and access to this digital content and priority here, like really work on those loyalty start thinking about your service more of a community and how much you can own it would be my best advice, because things aren't getting better. Promoted by, sponsored by is going to start showing up everywhere. It's going to be very obvious that like the content that's out there, you're going to be paying a lot of money to do it. So I would just say, try and figure out a way to own that. I think we made a mistake in not investing earlier in owning the location that those conversations were happening. The good news is we have a community large enough, and we've been working on it for a while now, that we'll be able to onboard them pretty quickly.
Hey, my name is John, and I have to confess, I'm a total pop culture nerd, and I've never heard of Loot Crate before until today, so I'm totally in love with your idea. I'm just curious how you even came up, what was the catalyst for this idea for this business? Like, how did you marry those two together? Because it's brilliant. So
my co-founder, I'd never met him before. He had a friend that was doing a subscription box called Conscious Box that was like, soaps and things that were all like eco-friendly. His brother, Chris's brother, my co-founder, so his friend had a subscription box company. Chris's younger brother was a YouTuber and big gamer, and so while Chris wasn't like a hardcore gamer or pop culture junkie, he appreciated and loved it and saw the experience his brother was having. Chris and I met at Startup Week in LA, where you come with an idea and you meet other entrepreneurs, programmers, developers, marketers, and things like that. And he pitched the idea of like, what about Comic-Con type stuff in a box every month? And when he said that, which is not a disservice to him, that's kind of where the idea started. And what I brought and what I worked with him to create over these last 5 years is the idea of Comic-Con in a box, sure, but more than just the products, everything else that kind of goes along with that. The shared community, the exclusivity, the pilgrimage, the mystery, the event that happens once a month. And so early on, we strive to create an experience more than the products that were in there. I mean, go back and Google Loot Crate 2012, 2013, 2014, where we had 66,000% growth. We were doing millions and millions and millions of dollars a month. We were putting like glow-in-the-dark vampire teeth and slap bracelets. We were not doing like licensed Marvel figures and collectibles and apparel and stuff like that. So there was something there, and the something that we created was this idea that you as a founding member of our service, you are helping us to build this, you are just as much a part of this as anything else. We didn't strive to be curators or experts in pop culture. We basically said, we're doing this because we're fans like you, and then we actually showed that through social posts, through meeting them in person, things like that. So I kind of tell people I feel like the company was kind of crowdfunded, really, because it seemed like people were investing their dollars for the subscription just to be a looter and be part of this community and to kind of see where this is going, just as much as they were potentially for the items that were in the box.
And also, too, I don't know if you've ever followed that on Twitter. You should. but he's really active in terms of, not promoting, but like talking about what's exciting. It's very authentic. Like it's not, I've just been following for years, and it's very authentic, even from the co-founder, that you're still highly involved.
And that's the kind of people that we hire. Like the guy working on the Marvel subscription service is like a huge fan of Marvel, like since he was a kid. Not just like, oh, I liked, the characters and everything. And now he's able to design and illustrate t-shirts and see them 4 months later in the hands of 300,000 people. And it's a licensed Marvel design. And so, we're very selective in the onboarding process. We're very careful about culture fit and everything, just to make sure that same kind of passion and drive is there, because it's easy to say by fans, for fans, or we're fans like you, but we actually have to show it.
Right.
And so I think we can do a better job of showing some of the behind the scenes and the people behind Loot Crate, just because we grew so fast, we didn't really focus on that element. And in 2018, you'll see more of that. You'll see like, who is the guy that designed this these Batman, this Buffy the Vampire Slayer jacket? And like, what do they like about Buffy, and why do they do it? What were other designs? We're going to show all that soon.
That's awesome. So on that note, since we have merchants in the room or store owners who have 10,000 subscribers, 20,000 and such, what's the one problem that you've solved through scaling that maybe the people in the room should know about? Something that you wish you knew 2 or 3 years ago when you had the slap bracelets?
I think it's the same answer that I usually give, which is we should have brought in somebody with operational experience earlier. I think the idea, I love them. I know the owners and everything of companies that do great third-party logistics, but we would not have been able to scale from going from 10 to 50 to 500,000 had we not owned that entire thing. Like, from just folding tables and slapping boxes together and hand stamping them to the 2 facilities we have now of hundreds of thousands of square feet. We learned very slowly kind of like the best way to optimize that time and space by just saying, well, look, we put the stuff in boxes. How much more complicated can it be? We definitely saw a benefit later on once we brought in somebody who can be that kind of third party to my creative and Chris's finance.
So on that note, I think you kind of talked about it already, but what should people think about when they're considering launching a new line of a product? I know you have your advisory board. Is that what's working for you? What would you recommend people think about before they launch another line of product?
I think what we'll do is we'll share with Subta at some point, because we want to be we want to add to the community and do this. So I think at some point we'll share kind of that some more content around how we do that. But it's a mix of looking at what the market conversations are going around it, is how licensed or not it is, what tentpole entertainment things are coming. Then there's like all the DNA we have of all the individual fandoms now that leads us to kind of make the decision of what trigger to pull and when. Otherwise, you'd see us do a lot more, right? Why not the Jay and Silent Bob one-off subscription, or something for Supernatural? Why Firefly and Star Trek? Why the one-off box for Call of Duty and Destiny, but not yet for Overwatch? And so there's a lot of different factors that go into what we pick and choose to do that, and I think we'll share that as part of the organization or the board.
Other than a Loot Crate, okay, it's not working. Other than a Loot Crate brand, what do you subscribe to?
Content, not really. Well, because so my favorite Loot Crate subscriptions are the core Loot Crate, because we've been able to do some really great stuff from Westworld and Stranger Things that have never existed before, and that is a unique take on that kind of stuff. But Star Trek, which hasn't shipped yet, I'm really excited about that. It's where you get to choose to become a member of a ship and what area of Starfleet you want to be a part of. We customize the whole experience to you, similar to the Halo experience.
Based on what your selection?
Mm-hmm. And so there's going to be some new personalization that we're doing there. Yeah, I don't know. I get enough stuff through our subscriptions. I get my Dodgers crate, and so.
Yeah, I told you my husband is a subscriber to Sports Crate, so he knows some stuff. We have more questions. We're going to turn to the audience again.
I'll be briefer with my answers. Sorry.
I'll just yell. Stuart from Lawrenceville, thanks for being here. Congrats on the success. You mentioned, I believe it was your research and development team had 7,500 we'll call it panelists or people, a pool of people. What was the driving force to identify those people? Were they like high NPS score folks? Were they long-term LTV?
You know, I don't know the exact criteria that they used. That team came with a lot of experience in from other organizations about how to build it, but they definitely wanted to make sure that it was it was very much both ends of the spectrum and something in between. So we weren't just seeing, you know, the squeakiest wheel or only people who would say something if they're really happy. So I can find out again, and we can share that, but the 7,500 was meant to be a good cross-section, and part of it is longevity of the subscription, how we acquired them, how long they've been with what affinity they have for other brands. So there was a selection criteria that happened that we sent out to like, I think 100,000 people, and then we picked the 7,500 based off of that. Some of it was even like your willingness to participate in missions every month. You know, there was other elements that were not specific to the business. But I'm encouraging that team as we kind of get out of the rest of this year to be more forthright and open so that people can kind of learn about how those departments are being created. It spun off from an IDEO kind of experience that we had a few years ago. And now we brought 4 or 5 people in-house that are really great.
Yeah, I'm curious if you can comment on, as you guys have scaled, how you forecast for the volumes you're going to ship, and then how do you address when you undershoot or overshoot with the amount of volume you're going to do?
We were pretty conservative for the first few years to the point where we never like spun off a lot of excess inventory. But I can tell you that was one of the biggest challenges that we've had is you know, do we buy 65,000 next month or 67,500 or 60,000 based off of any number of different elements? It's the reason why there's about 250 people at the company, is that as the complexity started to, and the scale started to grow, thinking about things like dunning and churn and retention modeling, all that kind of stuff all came into play. I don't have like a direct answer. All I can tell you is that as we scaled, it wasn't that we were like double dipping or being like, oh man, like this is getting, let's just go even higher. Oh, that worked, let's go higher. It was more of, we were just slowly kind of ramping up. And we might have been we could have been a little more thoughtful of seasonality and just some other things that we just didn't know we didn't know. And so I would recommend looking further back than 6 months or 12 months when thinking about what to project forward is kind of look at as far back as you can and as much data as you can. Some of it for us is the partners we're with. You know, we know on one crate that like StarTrek.com and CBS is going to do a big push for us and talk about us in their app and everything. But Activision for Call of Duty World War II doesn't have that capability. It's not going to be there. Okay, so then let's run what we believe we're going to get traffic-wise, sign up, conversion rate, all that kind of stuff, and back into it. But we also look at the size of the Call of Duty audience, the fact that there's a new Star Trek series coming out, like tons of different things, but there's no exact science. I can tell you that there is a model. It exists. There is something that the data sciences team has made that says like, put in franchise, put in these things, spits out how conservative or risky you can be. So it's possible.
Going back to the mention that you hadn't heard of Loot Crate yet, and he is in that audience. How do you balance marketing Loot Crate versus marketing MLB and marketing kind of the other licenses?
You know, I don't think we spend enough time on building brand awareness for Loot Crate as much as we do around the individual product lines. I think there's a lot we can do there. We call them in-house brands, but we really kind of treat them like product lines. So we struggle with things like what makes loot gaming more than just the stuff I can get from a Loot Crate, a little more expensive, and only gaming stuff. Like, how does loot gaming have an identity? Who is it for and everything? So we kind of let our community really talk and do a lot of that marketing for us. Next year, our brand values and our the things that would make sense to celebrate, like super high customer satisfaction rate, new product lines we've launched and stuff like that. I think we'll do more. We've just never been that kind of brand who's like, let's throw a huge bash in West Hollywood and like the Loot Crate and get everybody to have T-shirts and everything else like that. It's just hasn't been a core focus for us. But I think there's a middle ground that we should be at, that we can be doing better.
You must be familiar, we handle about 1,300 digital creators/influencers, and we've built a subscription box for one of them. It's fairly decent. I have 2 questions. One is very much in the weeds. How do you see blind boxes perform with your subscribers, and what reactions do you get? And the second is, at what point do you go ahead and start doing everything in-house and not sort of outsourcing it? Because there's so many parts to a subscription business.
Sure.
How much would you do in-house and how much would you just,
If I could have turned around and done it differently, we probably would have, like I said, potentially done some of the operations and logistics side, not in-house. But I don't really have any suggestions because I was kind of like forced to do it in-house, right? Like at Startup Weekend, we promised those people, even though there was only like 200 of them, that in 30 days we're going to ship them a box, and it's going to, we took their credit card number and everything. So Chris and I just scrambled and put a box together, shipped it out, and haven't stopped putting a box out every single month for 5 years. So there was never like if we're going to spin this other thing off, like how would we do it? On the blind box side, we have been seeing that as the subscription box industry has become more crowded, that people are wanting to see, or at least have a choice to have something revealed to them. And so we're taking some inspiration from some of the beauty subscription boxes that very much are like, look, it's on the way. If you want to see everything that's coming on the way, here you go, spoil it for yourself so you can get excited, to, hey, we have a Stranger Things, Westworld, Star Wars, and Destiny in this month's crate. We'll show you the figure if you want, click here, and it goes to a video that they can see it and everything. So I think the pure mystery is tough these days. We have an apparel line as well, and mystery with apparel is not super great, and so we're kind of re-envisioning that as well. And I'm surprised, we would have loved to do something with Studio 71. We've been, you guys were CDS before, right? Yeah, so I mean, we've been here in LA this whole time.
How about an industry that doesn't have much of a presence in the subscription world? Is there one that you think has made an appearance or become larger that hasn't really been touched yet?
I haven't seen a really good subscription that would apply to a sports fan that is just a general, that didn't want like a particular team, that just wanted to like enjoy the spirit and the harmony and the camaraderie of a particular sport, but didn't like, the way we're doing it is like, the NBA courtside crate. When you get your Bulls crate, you get your War. Like, it'd be interesting to see something that maybe is for like the person who wants to get into the sport. Maybe maybe it has a fantasy element to it or not. Maybe it's, sure, yeah, something that's just kind of general like that. I mean, we've talked about having 100 subscriptions. What does Loot Crate look like, 100 subscriptions? It means we're going to do a bass fishing box. It means we're going to do a beauty subscription and a music subscription, like an extreme sports, something very specific. Like, we've modeled out kind of what the minimum subscribers and resources would take to do something. So I think there's still an opportunity for a lot of niche products. Obviously, anything in the marijuana industry and cannabis, like as regulations continue to change and stuff like that, there's a huge opportunity there from like a holistic healing and everything else and partnerships. Esports, same thing. Like, I haven't seen any kind of really good esports subscription for a particular team or anything. So.
Another question.
Hey, Matthew Reinhogen. Just curious, from a marketing on the tactical level, what do you most attribute to the success from 0 to 100 million?
I think it was by really figuring out a way to bootstrap and grow by creating as little friction as possible for our early founding subscribers to become advocates and evangelists for the product. So we didn't sneak around like how we think you should do an unboxing or anything. We treated this, and I specifically treated this as like a client, right? Like, what would I do if a company came to me and said, we don't have any budget, but we have, it looks like something that people want. We need a tone, we need to so looters and all that kind of stuff all started day one. And what we did was we really focused on making sure people understand that like, they are helping us create this service as it goes along. This isn't something that's just like planned out. In the crate itself, we put document, share, subscribe as a way of it said tips for the perfect unboxing. And as people were doing their crate, because it was still semi-new, I mean, we weren't like anywhere near at the beginning of the subscription box industry. But what we did on social was the people who would focus on taking photography of the box in a way that showed the whole experience instead of just like one item. We would share and post those to the front and kind of nurture people along and the best way to kind of share and experience it. We also heavily invested in a referral program early on. We were at trade shows year one, even with a small booth, like held together with zip ties and cardboard. You know, we were still at the gaming conventions because it's like, we felt like we're here for you. We're not gonna wait until we can have a 2-story, $500,000 booth at Comic-Con. Like, we're gonna have a presence here to show you that, like, how authentic we are. And so word started getting around that, you know, this is a company that is getting better and better and the products are getting better and better, and you want to be part of that community. So we try, in a world where everybody is trying to judge each other based off of how much of a fan they are versus someone else, sometimes just for fun and sometimes just to be like, I'm superior to you, we created a community that was non-judgmental. You can like vampires and Supernatural, or you can like Transformers and Goonies, and we're still going to celebrate your fandom no matter what. So while we did start off geek gamer and talking about like to more geeky people, more gamer people, our true success was when we started being welcoming to fans everywhere and letting them know that we would adjust the service to what they wanted to see in it, not what would sell well on a shelf.
Hi, Daniel with Pretty Litter. We're a subscription kitty litter company.
Hey.
That will tell you if your cat is sick. It changes colors on the spot when it detects urinary anomalies.
Great.
My question for you is around customer service. When you first started early on, did you do it in-house, outsource it? Where is it today? And what are your recommendations for scaling a company with customer service?
Sure. I'm going to be speaking at an event with Zendesk next month or the month after next. That's really going to be about how we use Zendesk early on, so a much deeper thing there. So I'll leave a lot of the intricacies there. But when we started out, the first thing I decided was to create the email address weloveyou@lootcrate.com, so that when you had to email for support, you had to say we love you at lootcrate.com. And so my hope was it would like calm some people down. It's like, it's not life-saving medication, it's a Batman mug. So like, we love you, we're gonna make it right. And we just used off-the-shelf stuff, you know. So my wife is actually our director of customer service and was the 4th employee of the company. She worked with me at the boutique agency that we kind of had in LA that was working with brands on how to kind of grow and scale their businesses. And yeah, I mean, it was just first emails started coming in, answering them. Okay, well now we can add chat. Why don't we do, you know, phone support? And then now to this day, with over 650,000 subscribers, or people who could potentially get a hold of us for their service, no phone number. Like, we don't have a phone number. We don't have anything like that. But we've scaled up to use both in-house and outsourced support. I think it was mostly about taking those first individual people, really getting them to understand the tone and the voice, and like they signed the emails as Daniel and everything else like that. They felt really strongly. Identifying who had management and kind of leadership potential, and promoting them to, you know, senior customer support, and to the point where she grew the business to where she has like a very solid assistant management team. You know, it's very much a servant leader mentality and everything. So it was really letting that team kind of work together. And in fact, it does surprise some people. They are, you know, totally separate from operations and everything. Even the community department team that we have is not part of marketing. Like, we kind of do things a little weird, but it worked for us on that side. I think that we've published some stuff around like when to scale and how to scale and everything. But Hannah, my wife, she's really the expert on that end. We watched her. The department became the like de facto department when it came to reviews and promotions and culture and everything. We kind of followed that lead. And I think that says something about the company, where the customer service department is kind of leading the direction for other teams.
Okay, on that note, I'm going to say thank you for all the insights, and we're excited to see what happens in 2018.
Thank you. I really appreciate anybody coming out, by the way. Like, thank you, and showing support for this organization and for these kind of things. So if there's any way I can be of value, just let me know, and thanks for coming out.
Thanks, Matt.